Hi, I'm Jerry Kaifetz. Now, I'm making this video today to respond to the many comments that I've received on the creation series that I've done, the 3 videos, and posted on YouTube. I'm absolutely amazed at the number of responses. You may notice that I've disabled those responses, and there are 2 reasons for that. Number 1, I absolutely do not have the time to deal with a volume of responses. They're coming in at the rate of dozens a day sometimes. And number 2, 95% or more of these consist of ad hominem attacks, just demeaning personal remarks directed toward me, and that's just not scientific, that's not professional, and that's not anything that I'll lower myself to deal with. I'd like to talk to you today about a subject that characterizes the majority of the few legitimate responses that I've had to these videos, and that is the subject of intermediary species. Now, my contention is this: if evolution were true, for evolution to be true, there would need to be as many intermediary species in the fossil record as there are other species. And that's just simply not what we find, and any honest person who knows fossils knows this. Secondly, what we see in the fossil record is the sudden emergence of fully formed creatures. That's what we see. That's not compatible with evolution. So to say that in a laboratory, after thousands or tens of thousands of generations, we have one organism with an appendage that wasn't there before, that doesn't prove anything. That's not an intermediary species. For evolution to be true, you need to find as many as there are regular species, because presumably they lived on the earth for the same amount of time. Problem is, they're not there. They're not in the fossil record. Secondly, there is a body of evidence, there is a body of data, a body of work for creation that you can't just ignore. You can't approach this, you can't respond to me and pretend that that's not there. Let me read you a statement from Science Digest. Scientists who utterly reject evolution may be one of our fastest growing controversial minorities. Many of the scientists supporting this position hold impressive credentials in science. This is from Science Digest, all right? This is not some Baptist preacher on a Sunday morning. Science Digest. Now, there is a body of evidence. The data is there. I'm going to put a link to some list. I have a list here, which is 5 pages long. This is 5 pages of credentialed scientists with master's degrees, Ph.D.s. A.E. Wilder Smith has 3 earned Ph.D.s, a creationist, others, and I'm not going to start reading because I wouldn't be able to stop. But there's 5 pages here, folks. 5 pages of scientists, not scientists who got their degree from some double wide in a cornfield, scientists from some of the most prestigious universities and institutes in the world. They are creationists. Don't pretend that they don't exist. Don't pretend that they're not there. Don't pretend that your argument is with a Baptist preacher. It's not. Your argument should be taken up in peer-reviewed journals where these men have published. All right? That's what you need to do before I find it a legitimate concern in terms of answering what you've said. I have about 40 creation books by reputable scientists in my library. One of my favorites is by Michael Behe from Lehigh University, professor of microbiology there, who talked about the concept of irreducible complexity and has presented a major barrier in the field of microbiology to evolutionary theory. There are many men like this out there, scientists who have published their work. You have to deal with that. You can't pretend that that work doesn't exist. If you do, you make my case for me. Why? Because you're doing the La La song. That body of evidence is out there. Don't pretend that it doesn't exist. Well, then you might say to me, well, what is it? Where is it? Hey, I'm not going to do your homework for you. I went to your schools. I studied under your people. I read your texts, and I rejected evolution. Now, you do your homework as I've done mine. If you go, for instance, to a source that happens to be on this issue very fair, and that is Wikipedia, what you'll find is all the institutions that support evolution, and then below it you'll find an equally impressive list of scientific institutions that support creation. That's fair. Okay, that's honest, all right? That's not writing somebody and saying your stupidity makes my insides hurt. Well, I'm sorry, you know, I mean, I come from a family where IQs are in the 150 range. That's not going to affect me. That's not going to do much to me. I've been around. I'm not an ignorant, backwoods, fundamentalist preacher. I've traveled the world, okay? I speak fluent Parisian French. Bonjour, mesdames, mesdemoiselles, messieurs. Merci pour regarder ce vidéo. All right? So your argument is not with me, okay? And you're attempting to label me as a cult tactic. It's a suppressive tactic. An ad hominem attack only hangs a sign around your neck that says, my position is void of merit. I have to attack this individual. And when you do that, you make my case. Okay, you make my case. When you call the scientific facts that I've presented a rant, well, you know, intelligent people can look at my videos and they can decide, is this guy ranting or is he presenting something? Something that's not been answered by any of my critics to these videos. You haven't talked about the lycopod tree, bisecting the layers of geological strata. You haven't talked about the human artifacts that have been brought up from Precambrian layer. Why were there people there? You know, did somebody put them there? Is it a hoax? So that's what I have to say to my critics. Don't be intolerant of bona fide scientific dissent. You need to undertake to deal with it. It's there. It's not going away. This isn't the 70s when creationists were just waving Bibles around. Those days are gone. Don't pretend that they're not gone. Don't pretend that this body of evidence is not there. That's not honest, it's not scientific, and it will get you nowhere. I'm Dr. Jerry Kaifetz.